I'm here to share some of the books I read over the past week. So let's get started with the first one. I read The Wanderers by Meg Howrey, and this is a book that I had heard a lot of buzz about. I had heard that it was like Station 11, and very frequently I heard that it was like The Martian. For the record, it's not really like either of those. So I had heard the title of The Wanderers for months before this book's release, and then I actually went and found out more about it, and it's by Meg Howrey, obviously. You can see the cover here, but when I saw this, I was like, whoa, am I thinking of a different Meg Howrey? Because I have actually read her works. So her most recent work is set in the world of ballet, which is why I didn't expect a space exploration book from Meg Howrey. So The Crane's Dance. It is about Kate Crane and her sister, who are both professional dancers in the New York City Ballet. Very professional setting. And against this ballet backdrop, and there is Kate, and the book is really focused on an introspective look at her life. It's about Kate's mental issues, about her complex relationship with her sister, and in that way, it's kind of very similar to The Wanderers. The Wanderers is set against space exploration and a professional aeronautical setting, but it's mostly about the introspective lives of the astronauts. So the premise of this book, The Wanderers, is that we are set to go on the first manned mission to Mars, which is really historic and awesome. And the crew that is chosen is Helen, Yoshi, and Sarah Jio. And they're incredible astronauts and human beings, physically, top of the class, intellectually off the charts. They are the smartest people. And what is the most interesting is that they are psychologically so well suited for this kind of work. They are tough. And these three, they are chosen because they have complementary skills, personalities. They should mesh really well. And they need to prove that they are the crew to go on this historic mission to Mars. And to do so, they have to go through a 17-month simulation. And it's the most realistic simulation ever created. During the course of the simulation, they are observed by a whole observation team who checks their physical reactions, but also, very importantly, checks their psychological and emotional reactions to isolation and various challenges of an extended trip in space. And they check things even like the astronauts' reactions to the messages that they get from their family. And we get those perspectives of some of those family members. Particularly, we have Helen's daughter, Yoshi's wife, Sarah Jio's son, and we learn about their problems related to the space mission, but also just problems in their lives that are unrelated to that. And as I said, this is has a backdrop of being a really epic space exploration story, but it's actually a very intimate story about the astronauts and their families' kind of introspective lives. So this is not what I was expecting the book to be about. I think that a lot of people didn't expect a book about space exploration and the first trip to Mars to be about this. But it is about those inner lives, and I think it does what it does very, very well. So I really enjoyed it. Once you kind of embrace that that's what this is, it's really, really a great book. Now, another thing that I read this week is The Look of Love. It's by Sarah Jio. And I picked up this book because I've been on a little bit of a kick of reading things that are set in the Pacific Northwest, and particularly in Seattle, and particularly in Pike's Place Market, which is where this is set. Our main character is Jane, and she is a florist at Pike's Place Market, which I love. I love the setting. I love the hustle and bustle of Pike's Place Market. It's so great. And Jane has a very rare ability. She can see love. When she sees true love, she literally sees kind of blurriness in her eyesight. And Jane, on her 29th birthday, gets a mysterious message, and then she finds out that she needs to identify and record the 6 types of love before her 30th birthday, or face grave consequences. So this book follows that year, and we learn about kind of the lives, and we go into the homes of Jane and her friends and acquaintances from the market. And there's this community of people, and they're a varied lot. There's young and there's old people, there's single people, married, etc. They cover lots of different kinds of love, and so we follow Jane watching with a very critical eye the challenges that her little community goes through in love over that year between turning 29 and 30. And so it's a very interesting book. I think what's really intriguing is adding that magical realism can actually see love element to a book that's so realistic because it's set in a place that you can go to in our world. It's at Pike's Place. But otherwise, this book isn't particularly spectacular in any way, so I'm not really sure if I recommend it. So if you are looking for recommendations of something set in the Pacific Northwest, I recommend The Lost Art of Mixing. It's a recent book that I read that's set around a chef and her friends and the kind of community around this particular restaurant that is in, I'm not sure actually if it's in Washington or Oregon, but it has a Pacific Northwest feel to it, and we follow these people. It's got a beautiful, beautiful writing, and it's one of the coziest books I've ever read, and I think that's like a really great recommendation for a book, so I really recommend The Lost Art of Mixing. Anyway, I do have one other book to share from what I read this week, and it's a graphic novel called Cheddar. This is volume 1, and it is by Jio, Keatinge, and Leila del Duca. Now, Kate, our main character, is a former adventurer of a fantastical Earth. Like our Earth, but more aliens and creatures and magic and such. And I'm not exactly sure what a explorer did. From what I've read so far, I gather that she discovered magical things and then fought evil magical things. A little unclear about what she was doing in that former life. Anyway, she goes to having a civilian life, and I think she's a professional photographer. It's the only reference so far, this whole photography thing, to why this book is called Cheddar. There's a brief reference to it. And on Kate's 27th birthday, she is attacked by glowing ninjas and lion people and other things. A lot of things try to kill her because of family secrets that are coming out 27 years later. Kate has siblings. She did not know that, and some of her siblings are evil, so that happens. This book has a lot of action, and that's mostly what it has to recommend it. It's very confusing, and not in a structured way, and not in a way that it promises that it's got your back, that you can trust it, that info will come out. It felt a little bit more like they just forgot to tell me things, or even if they did, they'll make up for it in a sloppy-ish manner, like later. Anyway, it's been a bit of a hit and miss reading week. I hope you enjoyed hearing about those books, though. Till next time, lovelies.